I've got a confession to make. I have developed a little daily white powder habit. Now, don't panic, it's not that kind of powder. It's Ancient and Brave collagen, and it has become part of my morning coffee ritual. I first heard about it from my new best friend, Davina McCall, who comes on my daily walks with me. She talks in my ears and tells me things like, your future self is really going to thank you that you started taking this now. And when I realised that this scaling brand that I'd heard of was sponsoring such a big podcast, I thought to myself, my God, they've got to be doing so well. So I got in touch with them thinking they will never reply. And they did. In fact, the founder, Kate Prince, swooped into the emails herself and said, I love Brand Growth Heroes. I would love to come on the show. And she did. So I thought we'd spend all of our time geeking out on product attributes and benefits and range and all those things that I love geeking out about. But actually, we spent way more time talking about brand experience and ritual and consumers and team and culture and how they haven't spent any of the money they raised, believe it or not, and how it's been 100 little things that have changed their scaling rather than just one thing. I loved recording this conversation. I have listened back to it about 3 times already. I am learning so much. I think you will too. Enjoy. Kate Prince of Ancient and Brave, welcome to Brand Growth Heroes.
Oh, hi Fee, I'm delighted to be here.
I am so honoured that you've come on the show. I know you don't do a huge amount of podcasts. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you on today. I discovered Ancient and Brave as a consumer. I mean, I knew about you guys, but I discovered you as a consumer when Davina McCall told me in my ear on her podcast that I should be having it in my daily ritual, which I do now. Tell us how you've built this incredible business.
Well, very quick background on me was I started life actually as a city lawyer, then I was a media lawyer, which actually kind of means that I've always been a bit more behind the camera than never wanted to be, particularly in front of the camera. So hence probably why I don't do lots of podcasts. It's probably just my default. But it is lovely to be here today. So Ancient and Brave, really, I just had this obsession about brand. And then I started looking into wellness. I was also part of my life and being fit and staying healthy. And this was around sort of 2015, 16. Actually, my husband and I had left London. I had 2 boys. And I think this obsession for kind of brand and wanting to kind of create, I've always had that kind of entrepreneurial buzz from being a youngster. I think I was one of the first that ever did like a Blue Peter, bring and buy sale, if you remember those. But I just had this moment of I just want my own brand, and suddenly wellness became the thing that I was starting to understand a lot more, and it became my passion.
And can I ask a question? Because we worked in the same office building, didn't we, in Shepherd's Bush when you were in Endemol as a media lawyer and I was in GU. The fact that you ended up in Endemol as a media lawyer rather than, say, in like just a straight law firm, and that office building was really cool and it was full of buzz, and you had you guys and you had GU and you had a whole load of other cool brands that were starting way back and that was in 2003, 2004, 2005. The fact that you made the choice to be there and in that building, that buzz, that says something about who you were, that you weren't that straight, just normal grey-suited lawyer.
Well, I think when you start life as a city lawyer, I mean, everyone at the city law firm were recommending that I probably left and went and did PR or charity work or something else. I mean, I was working really hard, as you do, as you kind of rotate through the departments when you're a trainee, and you're working all hours. I mean, they definitely put you through the ringer, which is actually an amazing way to start life, actually, as a working life. I mean, you've got your work ethic from day one, really. And everything else after that is a bit of a breeze. But I think what I didn't like was it was very, very male, heavily hierarchical, very much like you could only grow as you completed each year. So it felt like you were year 1, year 2, year 3. And I was like, well, that doesn't give you room to have a personality or to push ahead or to bring yourself into work. You just had to conform. So the minute I got a sniff of the TV world, I was like, there's something in this. There's all these amazing creatives and brilliant people and human beings like running around in chaos and just such kind of joy of working. And I hadn't experienced that.
Okay, so this was always part of who you were. From a very early stage in your career, we're seeing this kind of, this desire to let the spirit be creative and create something and be around people who were more creative.
On reflection, I think it obviously set me up to want to have my own business because I was working daily with creatives thinking, I'm kind of enjoying what I'm doing, but I probably prefer to be on the other side of the table where you're actually creating the ideas. So was it? But actually, even as a lawyer, we had to be incredibly commercial and creatively commercial because it was that moment in history of the launch of reality TV. So that was still new. This was 20 plus years ago, and it was a brand new thing for the world when Big Brother came out, and then it quickly followed with a series of other shows from, The Farm to Comic Relief, Fame Academy, and loads of other TV shows. But we'd never done it before. TV channels have never done it before. So how do you draft a contract? You've never done it before. What questions are you asking? What boundaries are we putting in place?
What scenarios do you have to cover?
Just so many, and then obviously that obviously has honed down and got better and better and better, particularly, looking at contestants and as human beings, much more so I think is happening these days, and, the discussion around mental health, etc. So, but in the early days, it was a bit, Wild West out there
Yeah.
in TV land.
What an amazing place to kind of grow up and learn about experience, I think. And so so you got this love for brand, and then how did you decide to go out on your own, and how did you decide on wellness, and how did Ancient and Brave become?
My husband and I, he was a photographer, and we left London, living in the countryside, and we launched a tea company. We didn't know an awful lot about tea, but we knew people who did know a lot about tea. And so my husband kind of took on the kind of tea side of things, and I took on the brand. And we've launched a very traditional English tea brand, but it was so fun. It was like creating characters. We created this little, sounds a bit odd, but this frog who sits and he became a different character depending on the blend, and different color range. I think I sat in the Farrow and Ball shop and just went through all their color.
Sounds amazing.
And I literally went, okay, that can be, try and color match it to all the boxes. So that was like just super, super fun. But I think it just gave me this absolute buzz to put something creative in the workplace. And I think particularly when potentially we were at school, and I went to a good comp, but in the back of Brighton in Hove. And if you weren't an artist or a brilliant creative writer, you essentially weren't creative. And you were channeled down a different path, hence the lawyer. I mean, I really wanted to be a lawyer, but it wasn't even addressed to me or given to me that I could maybe somewhere deep inside of me have some inkling of creativity. So I think it was just that point in life that I just wanted to really explore and see if I was any good at it.
What happened then?
So then doing a wellness course, started taking collagen, and products such as MCT, and realizing that there was just quite a lot that was still coming into the UK. Obviously, looking at the US, that was way ahead of the game. I was actually importing these products from the US. You couldn't buy them in the UK. And this was around 2017. I actually then decided that there was really was something in this. And I remember like chatting with loads of people and them going, we've not really heard of this product. It didn't really exist. I was like, I want to bring it, but I want to do it in a way that feels very kind of British European, is the most beautiful brand that you can imagine. I remember walking into a health food exhibition at Excel, and it actually kind of was very grey. It was white packaging or pink packaging or blue packaging, and very clinically led, lacking personality, lacking really anything that I would be wanted in my kitchen. So that became the whole basis, like around the packaging, bringing the best, most beautiful, brilliant ingredients to the brand and to the UK, but also doing it in a way that felt original, accessible, beautiful brand, as I've said, but also like something that you would just want to have every single day and keep it in your kitchen, not put it in your cupboard, don't hide it away, conversation point. It had to be tactile, you had to touch it, feel it, smell it. And all of these senses became super important. And that just became part of, from day one, the impact of the business and our kind of what we call our everyday ritual.
I'm thrilled to introduce Brand Growth Hero's newest partner, Jolson. Jolson is a leading B Corp certified commercial law firm that specialises in guiding the founders of scaling CPG brands. With long-term relationships with clients like Little Moons, Trip, Eat Natural, Bear, Graze and Pulson, Jolson is also famous for advising the Innocent founders in their landmark sale to Coca-Cola. And believe it or not, they still work with the Innocent founders at Jam Jar Investments today. I'm especially impressed by how Jolson sets founders up for long-term success and by their commitment to championing female founders. Recently, I asked one of Jolson's managing partners, Phil Halesmith, to talk to us about how Jolson supports female founders on their scaling journey.
We're fortunate to have worked with loads of female founders who've had some very successful businesses, raised huge amounts of capital, and are happy to give back. And that's part of what we're trying to do in terms of running a regular program that supports them both here in the office, but also enabling them to actually access getting VC financing.
If you'd like to find out more about Jolson's female founder club, Hercules, why not go to their website www.jolsonlaw.com or send a quick email to hello@jolsonlaw.com. Huge thanks to Brand Growth Heroes podcast sponsors, Jolson. Now let's get back to the show. What I love about Ancient and Brave is, and this is the truth, it's sitting on my countertop, and it looks a bit like I've got like a beauty product on my countertop, rather than like a nutritional product. And in the morning when I put it in my coffee, because I know you've got lots of different products that I haven't tried them all yet, but the one I'm taking at the moment is the collagen. I kind of expected that I was going to have a weird taste, but I don't. And then I feel as I drink my coffee, I'm not just having my coffee, I'm actually doing something nice for myself. But the packaging really helps me believe that as well. It feels just like a really nice thing to do for myself. And also the fact that there seems to be a lot of care gone into the ingredients that you put into your products as well. When I follow you online and stuff, it's like, I don't know, it's all very peaceful and calming and centering. And it makes me feel something, which is all about brand experience, right?
It's so lovely to hear that, because I think that is the connection that we absolutely want. I mean, you can connect to a product with your brain and you can look at how it functions and what it's going to do for you and the price point that you want to pay, but actually you become obsessed by a brand. You move from being a customer to being a fan the minute you kind of really connect your heart with the brand. And I think that's so lovely if, and I know that's what obviously a lot of our customer base feel. And it's something that we really set out to portray as a brand, to make that connection to our customer, but in a more meaningful way.
The fact that you chose Davina as a brand ambassador, and the fact that she said yes to that, and the fact that she promotes that, I imagine that she's probably someone very careful about what she promotes,
Yeah.
Certainly I am. And I think, well, if she's saying it, but if she's saying it, then it must be true, because I don't think she'd lie for money, I really don't. And that makes a big difference to me as a consumer.
Well, I think the point is I didn't choose her, she chose us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, the reason we have any connection was because years ago, like very early stage of the brand, Davina was incredibly kind and kind of spoke about us in the way that she only used at that point. She didn't really use supplements at all in her life because she was so kind of fit and healthy, and that she was using collagen. The only collagen she used was ours. And so we kind of just built that kind of friendship and connection really over the following few years. And then it just made absolute sense to both of us that she became this incredible ambassador for us. And we work with a number of people, but it is a brilliant connection to us and back to our customer who can relate and love Davina.
Interestingly, like, who was the first person who noticed that and it could be anyone we're talking about, but this is always a really important moment in a business, isn't it? When you see that someone has put an order through, and that someone is someone who's known and someone who's credible and someone who is choiceful about what they consume and relevant to the rest of your audience. Like, was that you? Did you see that? Or was it someone else in the business that said, oh my God, you're not going to believe who's just put an order through?
I didn't even see an order come through. I think she bought it with an online retailer. She just went down the camera and said it on one of her lives, And she is very generous like that. She will talk about the brand she loves, but it has to be totally authentic to her.
Okay, great. Just wonderful story that you have that authentic connection rather than it being, let's find an influencer.
We won't work with people who haven't used the brand before or know the brand or love the brand or use the brand. I think any other way would feel so kind of disingenuous to us. It has to feel incredibly organic, and we want that kind of genuine kind of passion to come through. We work with a much wider number of people, and as you grow as a brand, that becomes part of what you do, and it becomes inevitable, but also lovely because different people connect with different product lines. So we don't have like one brand ambassador either, which I think is also what differentiates us from some other brands. What we do is we connect someone who connects to one product because it enables them to be absolute genuine about that product because they love that one product or two products or three products. But, you know, there may be other things in the brand or in the range that they don't take, or it doesn't work for them for whatever reason.
I think that's a really good piece of insight for the listeners out there who potentially aren't at this stage of the journey. I never thought about it that way. I always imagined, yeah, you know, you'd have like a select group of brand ambassadors who all loved the entire range. But you're so right. That's genius.
It doesn't really work like that, right? Even on a daily basis, I couldn't take the whole range. I mean, you know, so I think there's moments in your life where you lean certain products, or you have certain lifestyle goals that you want to achieve, or you have certain needs, you know, that you may just need a little bit more support with, and that's where the products kind of come into play. But other people can tell that story so beautifully. I mean, we work with Kelly Holmes, for example, in one of our product lines, and you know, and she tells that story such a fantastic way because it's a different product to Davina's because it's really helped support her kind of bones and joints and helped her maintain her running. And that's a different need state that she was in than Davina is in.
And it's also access to a different community, right? So you've got then all the people who follow Kelly and have a particular lifestyle and are passionate about particular need states and use cases for your products. And then Davina is people like me. And I didn't know that Kelly Holmes was because I don't follow Kelly Holmes necessarily because I'm not running.
For sure. And we just worked with some incredible people, you know, like Rose Ferguson's an amazing nutritionist. And she talks with such kind of eloquence and education and, you know, informed view on certain ones of our products, as well as, you know, Fern Cotton we work with as well. She, again, leans into kind of a magnesium and ashwagandha because, you know, she lives that very, you know, sort of frenetic lifestyle, but also, you know, has Happy Place and does a powerful and amazing job with her community as well.
Okay, sounds like I need to lean into some of the magnesium and ashwagandha, but if that's the case. I just said it so wrong, didn't I?
I love how you said it.
I said ashwagandha. What is it? Say it again.
It's ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha, okay.
And it's spelled, you have to work out the spelling of it. It's got an H where it shouldn't have one. Yeah, but when you say it, you won't stop saying it.
So tell me this. So that first stage, who was there in the company, like briefly, you know, what did the company look like back then? And how long did that stage last before you moved into something that where you realised, okay, this has got legs and it's moving and now all of a sudden there's revenue and you know, talk us through the different phases.
That took a long time.
Okay, good.
First phase. I mean, I was kitchen table, 18 months. And just day after day, just kept going. And then I think I had my first person about 18 months in, and she was part-time. My lovely friend Phoebe, who helped, and brilliant. And she was writing a book at the time, so we'd often talk about her book, which was actually quite a light relief as well. And then suddenly, you know, it gets momentum and you start to grow. But it was I mean, we did 100% probably growth year on year, which at the early stage I know it's hard fought for, you know, and it's relentless and it's hard work.
Sorry, it was all D2C, was it, at this stage?
No, we were from we sort of did a soft launch throughout 2018. We got going really 2019. And then up to, for those 3 years, to the end of 2022, we were about 50% D2C and 50% B2B.
Okay.
But but at that point, end of 2022, we were on 1.3 million. So I still hadn't really harnessed the D2C piece. It was very early days. We hadn't got fund, you know, we didn't have funding. We weren't spending in Meta or Google. We just weren't geared up like that. It just wasn't my background. So I didn't know what I was doing. I was just working out, and I was kind of more excited every time I saw us in like Selfridges or we're in Harrods or, you know, Ocado, wherever we were. And that was more exciting. And I think I had to evolve and learn very quickly how D2C worked and the pros and cons of that, but what it could do for your business, which is incredible. And that's when that was like stage one. And by that point, we were 10 of us, but working out of my Oast house, which is like basically the kind of shed house next to my house. And there were 10 of us cramped into quite a small room. But what I'd done is I'd hired, I feel like really, really well that first stage. So we had like a brilliant graphic designer, you know, which made everything look good, which was also really important. I hired 2 nutritionists who were innovating, telling the story, educating, etc. And I feel like that was just so vital for the brand.
It's a really interesting choice so early on. Like most people are saying, okay, we'll do that later on. So, so that was an integral part of your model from the beginning. That you're going to own brand, you're going to develop brand. You've got your graphic design in house, and I'm sure it was more than just graphic design. It's probably like real brand understanding, grabbing or able to translate what was in your head, right? And then you've got your nutritionists. Were you leading the research in terms of which areas to go into, or were they, or was it like a collaboration meeting of minds?
When you're growing and there's like 4 or 5 of you, 6 of you, 7 of you in the room, there's no way you cannot be collaborative
Okay.
and, shouting over each other. You're a jack of all trades. There is no way you just sit in your lane and do one job a day. You're problem solving, you're collaborating constantly. That's the only way to run a business at that point. But what I did do is look for people with skills that I didn't have. And so, what can I bring? Well, I could bring some knowledge of wellness, but no education or background in it. I can bring my commercial skills. I can draft. I can write. I suddenly found that I had a creative output. I could grow, develop the brand, but visually, how could that come to life? How could I keep the storytelling going? And those were the amazing people, many of which are still with us, that I had from those early days.
I'm just thinking, and sorry, you're making my brain fire off in all sorts of different directions. But storytelling, so important with brand experience. I mean, it's everything, isn't it? But
Yeah.
Endemol was all about storytelling, all of those TV things. And that must have been like, I can see how storytelling would be more of a natural. It obviously was to you before you even went into Endemol, right? But it's been part of your life for so long. And so many brand owners that I work with, they might be amazing at, setting up manufacturing, and they're learning the brand piece as they go, but they haven't felt it yet. I've got a brilliant founder that I work with, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me calling him out. He's got a fabulous manufacturing facility in Ireland that has a really, really brilliant, profitable production facility that he's built by himself, and he's an engineer. And he's 2 or 3 years in, and he's making cookie dough, and no one else can make it like he can make it. But he's learning the brand piece. And he would say that has been like something that he's got to get his brain into gear, his heart into gear, his feels into gear. And it's been
Yeah.
a real holding him back. Whereas you had that. And I think that is such a gift for a founder of a consumer packaged good business. If they have those feels from the beginning, it makes a difference, doesn't it? A massive difference.
I mean, I think so. I mean, you have to have passion for your product, right? Otherwise, no one else is going to have passion for your product if you don't. So your product has to be the best it can be, and that's what I feel like we set out to do. And I can talk, for hours about the ingredients and the sourcing and the quality and the, therapeutic nature of all of our products, but you've got to be obsessed by brand. And I think that's where founders can come in late to the day. So if I'm ever talking to a brand new founder or room of founders or people who want to launch something, I'm like, get obsessed by brand, because brand is everything. And it's not just the look and feel, although get obsessed by that, because if you don't, it's the same cost whether if you're producing packaging. It's the same cost whether it looks shit or it looks amazing. So make it look amazing. Put that effort in, and and that doesn't mean it costs a lot. I didn't launch the company on a lot of money, but I did become obsessed with how it looks, and I'm still obsessed. All the packaging to this day, like 8 years later, still comes past my desk, and I sign it off. And every little, not all the marketing by a long shot, but the packaging itself, that's kind of still my baby, and I still want to get that right.
I love that. When I was working with Chobani in the States, Hamdi Ulukaya, the founder of Chobani Greek yogurt, and now Chobani's a massive food and drinks manufacturer rather than just yogurt. But all of the packaging still and branding goes by his desk, and it's a $2 billion company, because that is the face of the brand, and that is what creates the experience until people actually consume it. But I love this. I think it's really important. We haven't spoken about this a lot on the show before, and I think it's something that's very live for me right now, is this idea of that journey to understand brand for the people who don't have it naturally. It's not even understanding what good packaging looks like. I think what I'm trying to do is summarize what we're saying here, but it is actually feeling it in your bones and knowing this idea that you can create a change in state, in experience, in someone's heart and in their minds, not just in their stomachs or in their skin. And it's really bringing yourself on a journey, being aware that you need to go on a journey until you fully understand what that feel is for that person. And then when you're looking at it, what good looks like, then you can deliver that as a leader, right?
Well, again, that comes back to storytelling, I think. So like, what do you want to portray to the world? So, we had the products, we've obviously grown out the product range, but it was like, how do you take the products? When are you going to take the products? Why would you take the products? What vehicle do you want to take the products in? Do you want a pouch? Do you want a sachet? Do you want a glass jar? And then it was like, why? Really, well, you've got to get to the why. So the why is like, how does it fit with my lifestyle? And what is going on in my life that it needs support to take more product? And that is what we as a brand have become obsessed with. And that was from day one, that was bedded into the brand. And we called it the Brave Method, was how you take the product, and the Brave Lifestyle is how you use the products in your life. So we talk to our consumer as an individual, not one size fits all. We're like one day you might this product, then you might have, hormonal change, hormonal shift, something going on in your life. You may be recovering from an injury, a surgery, and there may be other products that you may need, or you might be on a fitness drive, for example. And I think it was really kind of looking at what drives the consumer to come to the brand, but also what they like to do with their life. So we did become obsessed. We're obsessed by the customer.
And do you talk to them? Do people in your team talk to your heavy users?
So we do. We have like what we call Lean Circle. So we get people involved testing new product lines. On our Brave Lifestyle, we go out and do community projects. So we talk about everything from kind of wild swimming through to forest bathing, cacao ceremonies go on, sauna rituals. And this is sort of bedding out into the community, and the community take this on, and then, which I love, and then suddenly they're using the products, and we're getting messaging about we've just done a wild swim and had a cacao ceremony. So it is absolutely lovely to kind of see it playing out in real time as well. But I think any brand should do that, like really consider how the consumer is going to take your product and why they would want to do that. That becomes a lifestyle piece. And so when we talk about ourselves, we are brand led. We're obsessed by the product, but we're brand first.
Okay, I love it. I love it. It's not what I would have expected from a company that you would have called, had you not known them, a nutritional supplements company. It has a totally different feel. Do you think it's important to have everyone in the same room or in the same building?
So I'm a bit old school. That's how I grew up. And yes, I actually have a strong sense that to have a seat at the table, you have to be at the table. Now, I have had many different thought processes and people's views over the years. And we're now, with that team of 10 has gone to 140.
Wow.
And we are engaging people who are in California and who are in Germany and who are in Spain, and people coming down. We actually are based in Sussex, and people are coming from London to come to us, which is delightful and brilliant. And we're building a brilliant team. But I think so. I've got more relaxed, shall we say, at working from home. But I really like it when everyone's in. I love it. And so, if we're going to employ someone in the UK, I do have a bit of a. Can you at least come in 3 days a week?
Okay. See, I'm so happy to hear this, and I think I totally get the younger founders out there who are creating these nomad lifestyle stuff. But I wonder if they had the opportunity to, in parallel, experience what it's like to build a business when everyone's in 3 days a week. I wonder if they would then say that the nomad lifestyle is a better way for the business to grow. I really do think that if you're building a challenger brand, having everybody in the same place 3 days a week is absolutely crucial, because you are all coming up with a zillion ideas and talking over each other and creating magic. Whereas if you're by yourself, even if you're on a Zoom call, it's not the same, or a Teams call. I don't believe it's the same. I think it's going to come back around. I really do.
We grew in 2023 from 10 to 35. And that was 1 year. We had 703% growth that year. I couldn't have done that if everyone was remote.
So is that people or million?
10 to 35 is people. Wish I'd done that. That year, 2020, we went from 1 to 10 million.
Oh my God, that's huge. 10x.
10x. We did do 10x. But I really, truly believe like the pace we move at. Of course, you can set up a company and be a nomad. And of course, they're incredibly successful companies. And success isn't based on profit. And it's not based on pace. It can also be based on purpose. And so you have to decide for your own self and your own team what works. So I'm not saying that the way I work works for everybody and that's how you should set up your company. Absolutely not. I'm saying it worked for me. I love it. I love the connection. You know, I've worked in offices and I knew the office I wanted to create. And finally, we've just moved into a brand new office and it feels like home. We're on the river in a beautiful county town in Lewis. And, you know, I'm encouraging by offering this beautiful space as well, more and more, you know, I want people to come in and enjoy it and be here and move around and chat to everyone and pick up their computer and go and sit next to somebody else and learn something new.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to come and see you in your
You
office.
must come and see us. Well, honestly, we've just moved in, so I'm like, I'm so shabby, and every nail is broken because we've been moving. But I'm so excited to be here. There's such a buzz in the building.
And I really respect the fact that you're not saying to anyone that what they should do, but I think I am. I think I am saying, having been there and done that, you know, with a zillion different challenger brands, I think those brands who are currently Nomad, if they also had the opportunity to do it 3 days a week together, even if they were purpose-led and if that was their measure of success, I think they would get further with their purpose.
But I agree with it, but I do worry that, you know, am I a generation that just brought up with it, and is there another way of working? But I've tried it different ways, just gently, and we've never worked as fast, or communication's broken down. I mean, even now we have like Slack groups going around, and I'm a bit of a Luddite, so I'm still trying to even get to grips with all the different systems that I still have to check in and the ways we communicate. But the youngsters, and we have a lot of them, they love it. And they love that kind of how you communicate and when you're communicating. But there's nothing better than face to face.
Yeah,
Nothing.
I agree. Okay, so you what was the difference that made you jump from 1 to 10? Was that getting to grips with D2C advertising, or what was it?
Yeah, I mean, we often get asked that, and there just isn't one thing that we did. There's almost like 100 things that we had been putting in place that slowly we got right, from trial and error and mistakes and failing fast and moving on. And then we pulled it all together and somehow everything aligned. I think the world aligned, as in the UK woke up and went, oh, there's something in collagen, hang on. And we were seeing I'd seen a few other brands who start at a similar time frame, kind of shoot right past us. But I was like, stay in my lane, stay true to what we're doing, don't follow that, you know, stay to our vision. And yes, we got to grips with D2C. And so that was really what took off that year. It's harder in B2B for us, but D2C flew. And by the end of that year, when we went from the 1 to the 10, it was 85% of my business was D2C.
Okay, amazing. And do you think that you made a shift in that year as a leader? What changed in you that was you enabled that to happen? Or were you just poised and ready to, it had all been in place, like you said, it was all the building blocks in place and it was ready? Explain that to me a bit.
It feels really weird to think back to it, actually, and quite sort of lovely. But at the end of the year, I felt like I was on my knees, if I'm honest with you. I mean, the growth, the journey I had to go through that year, you know, being a founder, as you know, it's relentless. You have to keep going, and when you have bad days, you have to get grit and perseverance and all of those characteristics. So it wasn't like I didn't love it the year. It was an incredible year. It was exciting and challenging and awful and terrible, all in the same breath and the same second of every day. It was like, can we keep going? Can we keep, you know, because the growth was so astronomical. It was like, can we support everything that we're trying to do? Can we not sell out stock? Can we keep growing strategically? Can we think next steps? Can we grow the team? We didn't have HR. We didn't have in-house finance. We barely had a bookkeeper. You know, we didn't really know what we were doing. At the same time, I went through an investment round. I mean, not the moment. So halfway through that year, I was approached by certain investors. I had a few conversations. I was like, sure, why not? Let's have a go. You know, I could do with a few more grown-ups in the room. It was really just me at this point. And I had amazing sort of number two. I had this great marketing director, Lara, who's still with us. But, you know, it was a lot. It was a lot to take on.
We mentioned at the beginning, you know, and there's something that you and I have talked about in the past, this idea of like, can we have it all as founders? Can we have it all as female founders, as mums, as wives, as friends, as whatever? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, I think as a founder, it's quite challenging. I love when like Emma Grede talks about balance, throw it out the window. You know, Michelle Obama, you can't have it all. And these are very strong, brilliant women that I respect enormously. And I think what you do is, and this is where Emma talks about it, is very much like when something's happening, whether it's at home or it's in business, you have to lean into it. You just have to pivot and focus on that at that moment. But for me, when you talk about business, I think it's like whether you can get it all right from the outset. If you can be very thoughtful and purposeful about building a brand, and the excitement takes over and the adrenaline, and you want your brand out there, everyone's going to love it. And it's only literally the night before where you go, oh, will they? Will they love it? But hopefully they will. And the point there is if you bake in things like ESG, if you look at the impact that you want, do you want to be a B Corp? Do you want recycled packaging? Do you want sustainable ingredients? And hopefully the answer is yes to all of those things. Then you can move on. How do you want the brand to look? Do you want that fast-paced growth? How do you want to build your team? My team, by the time 2010, 10 of us, all women. 35, all women. We are now 85% women. So we're at 140, but 85% still women. And I love working with women. There is space, absolutely, for men in this world. I have 3 brothers, 2 sons. I love men, but I love working with women. And women are very attracted to the wellness world and the wellness industry. So naturally, we have found some brilliant, employees and people we work with, and that has just sort of naturally evolved, very sort of organically. But they also grasp the moment, I think, of collaboration, and the only way to move at a pace is to collaborate. That's genuinely, I think, the heart of the company.
It's really interesting. I can imagine how you end up in the world that you have chosen and created and curated, ending up with a team of 85% women. But yet I'm wondering, wow, if I was a leader in that business, would I be afraid that I wasn't getting a balance of having men in the business, or anyone who identifies as any other way than women in the business? And I'd be seeing that there was positives, but also potential negatives. I mean, do you ever wonder about that, or is it just because it's happened so organically, or is it an active conscious choice? Or
I don't know if it was I mean, initially maybe it was a bit conscious. I wanted to work with women. I've worked with some amazingly brilliant women at Endemol, and I love that sort of the camaraderie or the work ethic that I found, or the comfort maybe that I found working with women. So maybe that was subconscious, but also it was something I probably set out to achieve. But as it has evolved, I think naturally you want to find the best person for the role. We are a brand that, we're a brand that is for everyone, but we naturally speak to women, and we're naturally speaking to women, particularly around hormones and the menopause moment and lifestyle that they're involved in. And I think obviously other women are attracted to the business because of that. So we probably if we put a job out there, we're probably getting 10 women per male, in terms of who's responding and who wants the job. So we're kind of sifting through that as well. There's probably a bias in terms of who's actually applying. So I would say though now, you also, if you're a man coming into the business, we have quite a specific culture, which is very collaborative. It back to my city days, I don't want hierarchy. People sit side by side, and as I said, anyone can bring anything to the conversation. We have constant kind of stand-ups and daily meetings and chats, and you can, like I said, you can pick up your computer, you move somewhere else, go and sit next to everyone. You can input into any meeting. We can have our youngster at 18 who's just left school, who can have a view in the morning, and by the evening we could have implemented it. That could, and that also is something that we do quickly. We move fast. For me, it's like how quickly we can move from having an idea to bringing it to the table. Yeah, we go really quickly. Yeah.
How do you do that? Have you put a framework around that without holding it down, pinning it down? Or how do you name and frame and make that an asset of the business? Or has it just become part of the way of working?
We talk a little bit about hustling. So we all kind of we hustle, and we will try things. we want to fail fast. We want to move quickly. So we're not afraid to put things out, and that could be new socials, new ideas, even a product. We do it with a lot of thought and a lot of education behind it, but we will bring it and we'll bring it really fast if we can. But anything from a kind of social media is the perfect example, isn't it? Because you can literally have one idea in the morning and it can be out there to the world by the afternoon. It's that time process. And I heard someone talk about this very eloquently recently, and they were saying that the more you can minimize from when you have an idea to bring it to inception, you don't have to be bigger, you don't have to be smarter, your product doesn't have to even be better. You just got to be faster sometimes.
Okay.
To bring your idea, however that forms, to the marketplace. And you've got a better chance of succeeding.
Yeah, it's a bit like that MVP concept, isn't it? Yeah, it's so true. I've seen that in my own work, particularly with the podcast. You get to 10 million, you do your funding round. Was it a big funding round?
Yep. So I went with Piper, private equity, who had some fantastic brands behind them already. And yeah, we were very fortunate. They saw the growth, they saw the brand, they love a good brand at Piper, and they approached us, and a few months later it was done.
That's amazing, isn't it? So we've had Yasha actually on the show a few years ago.
He's very nice.
We must have him on again. So they approached you. Isn't that incredible? It's everybody's dream. And then what happened? So you all of a sudden you have more money to spend, or what did you do with that money?
Yeah, so we had a few other shareholders who'd put some money in very, very early days, who they bought out, so some secondary. I took a little bit of money off the table, but I'm still majority shareholder in the business. And we put some money into the company. But we were profitable that year. And because we didn't have all those other things such as HR and a posh office and business class business trips, etc., we weren't doing any of this. We were just like heads down at our desk, pretty much out the Oast House. We actually didn't spend any of it.
Oh.
And to this date, we haven't spent a penny of it. I think what I was looking for was, when you're in the very fast paced growth moment, you're like, can this continue? So there's a bit of fear that drives it, right? You want a bit of a security blanket around you. You want to bring people in who've done this before, who can see how this could play out, the good and the bad. You want advisors. So these for me were kind of more important than the money at the time. We actually were profitable. We didn't need the cash. We could have kind of kept going on what we were making, and we could see the growth ahead of us. But what it has done, so that money has sat in the bank. But what it has done is obviously allowed me, as the brand, to take risks. So it's given us assurance. It's meant I sleep at night. I know I can pay everyone's wages if the worst case scenario happened for a long time. It's meant that we could pay the tax bill whenever we wanted. It meant that we could hedge and we could get economies of scale by growing out the business, taking on new warehousing, purchasing power was all there. So we never had a problem with cash flow at all.
What a peace of mind. I mean, that is incredible.
That is an incredible moment, right? So although you don't kind of pay back the cash, and the cash just literally sits there, but I suppose that sometimes, I think the odd occasion we've dipped in, but not really, because we've also just added to the pot, and we kind of work within our means, and I've always done that.
God, that's incredible. I like that. I almost feel a sense of relief for you, because every business I know, well, most businesses I know are not in that situation. But you only got to that situation because when they got in touch, you'd already got yourself to a place where you were profitable that year.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant.
I mean, Fee, don't get me wrong. The first 3 years, I didn't pay myself.
Sure.
So we were kind of profitable, but scraping back. I think one year we made £10 in profit.
Yeah.
And, I think there are things that you have to sacrifice, and there are risks that you do take at the beginning. The risk was for me wasn't my house, but it was my career. It was where that was going, and to end that and do this was the risk. But yes, in the last few years, to have had this pot of cash that we had built up, being very careful with what we were doing, trading well, being very purposeful about every time we spent money and why and where, and then to have someone come in and hand you a bit more, it was a good place to be.
Can I ask you a question? Did they ever say to you, hang on a second, if you spent, a third of the money or half the money, you could grow at double the rate? Like, explain to us why you're not spending the money, because we want to make an even bigger return on our investment.
It's interesting, actually, and having not come from a business world, it sounds really obvious, but I really hadn't grasped it at all. When you particularly run your business, but you do go down a private equity VC route, the revenue is, well, the EBITDA, so your profit, is just as important to the business and its growth as the revenue. I mean, we've seen, even over my time frame, I've heard ridiculous stories about people not making profit, and some people are very successful at that and drive the revenue, right, and still get that sale or the multiple and the sale that they want. But that just wasn't, weirdly, I am quite risk adverse. And so that EBITDA part did make sense to me. Like, what's the goal? To drive a thriving business, but also a profitable, safe one. And that's my comfort zone, definitely. So I leaned into that.
And all of your investors were okay with that, obviously, because otherwise they would have shouted and screamed and said, "Go, grow faster, spend the money."
They want to see the EBITDA.
Right.
They don't really want you to spend it. I mean, that was the nature of the relationship that I have with Piper. Now, it could be that other VCs have a different format and they're more risk taking. But actually, my values at that moment aligned with Piper's, I would say.
Brilliant.
If we needed the money, it was there. It's not like we can't spend it. We can spend it at any point we want. It's just that we haven't needed it. We've traded within certain parameters, certain key indicators, like, we won't go above a certain CPA, cost per acquisition, for example. We won't chase the revenue. We will go back, we will stop, we will go back and look at our assets and our media. And what are we doing wrong? Because if our CPA goes skyrockets really super high, and therefore you're not, for example, profitable on first purchase or second purchase, then essentially I think what you're doing is you're telling your story wrong. So if any of our assets don't work and they're not working hard enough, we will stop them. We will go back, we will rework them, we will test, and we will fail, and then we will start again. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's too techie.
Totally makes sense. But I think what it probably also means, as I'm thinking as you're speaking, is that obviously your growth, your top line growth, as well as your EBITDA, was absolutely acceptable and quite, happily acceptable by your investors, because they weren't saying, well, hang on a second, your EBITDA is fine, but you're not really growing very much. We think you could do this differently. You obviously got it right in terms of the top line growth as well. And I think that's real testament to how you've set the business up. And as you say, baking in all the right things from the beginning. And it is really hard to bake the right things in from the beginning. And I think one of the things that we do with the Brand Growth Heroes Mini MBA is, when we go through the 10 modules, it is all about baking the right things in from the beginning. And I don't have all of the answers, but what we do is we ask the questions. How do you want to approach sustainability? How do you want to approach people in your business? Where do you sit on brand experience? And how are you going to make that part of your way of working and your business model and your P&L from day one, so that you don't get in a situation where you're playing catch up along the way, which is obviously what you guys have done so well. So where is Ancient to Brave now? Where are you going? Where are your kind of growth areas? Where are you focusing in terms of whether that's market or channel or consumer group or product range? And how big is it going to get? What are your dreams and what's the vision for the business going forward?
We are still experiencing incredibly fast growth. Last year we doubled, this year we'll more than double again, which is, again, a very fortunate place to be in, but it's testament to the amazing team. We're very focused on MPD and expanding out our range and bringing very brilliant, innovative, groundbreaking products to the marketplace with using ingredients that people haven't heard of. I mean, we're outsourcing from like Japan through to, Thailand, etc., to bring these ingredients that are science driven, have loads of research behind them to the UK market, because I think that's what creates like a really kind of innovative, exciting new product. And there's a lot of noise out there, as you know, and we always want to bring something that's kind of a bit different and much better to the marketplace. Otherwise we won't launch it. So we always give it our Ancient and Brave spin.
But science backed, right?
Yeah, so science, we are absolutely, so we have a team of, I think about 10 nutritionists now. We have German speaking and Spanish speaking, but we're actually, our innovation team is led by Dr. Jenna Machoki, who is an immunologist. And so her obsession, and we're bringing a gut product to the market in September, and her obsession is around immunology, which obviously kind of starts from the gut. So we're always science-led. We've invested up to £500,000 for this year, last year, coming up as well. And we're doing clinical trials and consumer testing. So to get all the efficacy and behind our brands, we're, obviously it's really important to us to understand exactly how the consumer feels about the products when they've tested them, when they've trialed them, how they feel about taking them, etc. So for us, obsessed about new product lines coming to the market and just keep driving the company forward. I mean, we very much we have our look and feel. We have the wellness brand behind us. It's a strong looking brand. We're really, really proud of it. And we just want to kind of keep pushing that out, but also keep bringing new and exciting ideas and looks and feels to the consumer and to the market as well.
And for you as a female leader of this business, what advice would you give to other founders who are further back in their journey from that kind of leadership growth point of view? Did you at any point along the journey have a coach, or is that something that you have looked at? How have you found mentors? Who do you look to help you support your own leadership journey?
I mean, I listen to amazing podcasts like yours. And, I mean, honestly, listening to other founders is incredible, and there are some great podcasts. Yours is a great podcast, absolutely, and there are other people that I listen to. I love a bit of Emma Greed, who I think is phenomenal, and I think some of the guests she has on there have real insight and inspiration. And for me, that's where I'm still learning and growing and listening and making notes constantly. In fact, I'm probably repeating half of what other people have said rather than what I've said. It's like we're just, you just want to be a sponge, and you want to keep being kind of open. I think that's the biggest thing as a leader you can do, that you just stay kind of, you learn how to read a room and you stay flexible, because it's very easy to say or feel, and I know best. And often I have leaned into my gut instinct on many things. But when you bring in your team, you've got to learn to trust them and to let things go and to trial other ways of being. And that's probably the greatest test you're going to have as a leader. But also it's going to be your superpower, because you're going to bring in new people who can do it better than you.
Well, Kate Prince from Ancient to Brave, on that note, with that wonderful insight and advice, I'm going to say thank you so much for coming on today, chatting to me, chatting to our listeners. And I have to say a big shout out to the fact that I was absolutely blown away when I emailed your team to say, is there any chance we could speak to your founder? You actually came in over the top of the email and said, I know your podcast. I listen to it all the time. And I was absolutely blown away that you even knew who we were. So so thank you for that. It made my week.
It's a delight, Fee. And even I'm happy to get out my comfort zone and come on a podcast for you.
I know. I really appreciate that. I really do. Because I know you haven't done.
Of course.
Thank you. And the other thing I said, which is so lovely as well. This is kind of going off track here, but not. You've just moved offices, right? But you still came on the show today, and you could have easily, and I would have been totally okay with that. You could have easily said, look, we've just moved offices. I've broken all my nails. I'm knackered. But you didn't. And I think we're losing some of that in today's society since lockdown, like actually showing up, turning up, making the effort and respecting the other person's time.
Well, it's like you and me, we're old school. It's like you've got to have a place at the table. You've got to be at the table.
I love it. And I really do appreciate it. So thank you. I will see you very soon.
Absolutely.
So I can't wait. Give you a hug in real life. And thanks again for coming on the show.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, I loved that episode. There really is no silver bullet. Kate got this business from 1 million to 10 million through her 100 small things. So much trial and error, learning D2C the hard way, tweaking packaging, sharpening storytelling, and, putting that credibility in place with that choice she made to put the nutritionists in early on. She kind of stacked her growth up in layers, didn't she? It wasn't a straight line. And that made me feel really good about how we're all building our businesses. I also love the fact that they have got the money that they raised in the bank. I mean, who does that? That is just incredible, The idea of staying positive but still being able to put your fundraising money in the bank and not touch it is just, I think, mind-blowing. And finally, the last big thing that I'm taking away is, how do we all make our consumers feel something do something that is ritualized, becomes part of their daily life in a way that is a ritual. It feels like something that they're kind of treating themselves, being good to themselves. And it's the packaging and the opening and the stirring and the accoutrements. It's all part of it. You know, it's not just about features and benefits. Have a great day.